You guys remember when we were all wondering what that was with So Be It from Clipse album Let God Sort 'Em Out? We got what sounded like a different beat. And on top of that, the song that was released on the Tube wasn't immediately released on DSPs. Well, Brian Z here from Audio Mac, he went and got down to the bottom of this, right? The video of So Be It was supposed to drop on, didn't hit DSPs until after they released the album on July 11th. That wasn't the original plan. So he went and got the backstory by sitting down with Clipse manager Stephen Victor, and it turns out Swiss Beats was the one that saved the day. So here's what happened. Pretty much Pharrell had sampled a Saudi artist, right, as you can see on here, and he had heard that song on Swiss Beats Instagram. Now, the original plan, as Brian says, is to release the video and the song to DSPs at the same time. But when the clearance process stalled, the clearance process for sampling, meaning whoever owned the rights to the songs and or the artist would have to clear the sample, Clipse were forced to pivot. So they held back the commercial release and they only shared the video on YouTube and social media. So that's why we got a video with no record on Spotify, Apple, etc., right? So they were talking to people at Rock Nation. This is Steven saying this, right? They said, so we asked Rock Nation, what do we do? They considered changing the rollout plan and releasing a different music video instead, with the sample in limbo. And, Pharrell was like, this doesn't make sense. Pharrell decided to produce an alternate version of the song. So that's why we had that different production. That's why we had So Be It Part 2, talking about being ready. So pretty much this is in case, the sample never gets cleared, they still wanted to include the song on the album. However, on the day that the song was released, is what Brian is saying, right? Swiss Beats asked, yo, why didn't you call me about So Be It? And then apparently Pharrell says, or Steven, says, I did, I sent it to you. And then Swiss says, I didn't realize that with that record, let me handle it. It just so happened to be that Swiss Beats was flying to Saudi Arabia that day. So he said he'll connect with the right person and get it resolved. And apparently that's what he did. So that's why we got an album with So Be It Part 2 that night that had a different beat, because that clearance didn't come through exactly on 7-11 midnight. It came after midnight, right? But once Swiss Beats was able to step in and get the sample clearance, they got the approval, and then they replaced the So Be It Part 2 with the older So Be It, the original So Be It. And that's why overnight we had one beat, and then in the morning we had another beat. So yeah, shout out to Brian Z on this. He says he's going to be talking to Stephen Victor on other stories as the Clipse album rollout continues. I like this. This was really cool. We appreciate you doing a little bit of journalistic work there.